Asking for a higher base salary is a trap. Today, I'll show you the exact 5 questions that got Marcus a $6,500 signing bonus, additional remote days, and an early performance review, while his colleague Kevin got absolutely nothing for the exact same job. Every salary negotiation inside a company takes place inside a structure you never see. It is not a single number. It is a stack. The base is the one number that can move the least. The other 5 can move. If you know to ask, most candidates go straight for the base, but they hit a wall, not because the company doesn't want to pay more, because of pay bands. The compensation package has 5 components beyond the base: signing bonus, target bonus, remote flexibility, title grade, and review timeline. Each lives in a different budget bucket. Each gets approved through a different chain of command. Each carries a different level of institutional flexibility. The recruiter knows which ones can move. Most candidates never ask. Companies run on pay bands, a strict range, say $55,000 to $82,000 for the same mid-level role. Kevin's offer was $69,000. He wanted $75,000, still inside the band. The recruiter still couldn't say yes, not because the money didn't exist, because of internal equity. A colleague had been in that same role for 14 months at $68,000. If Kevin came in at $75,000, that colleague was now underpaid by $7,000 for doing identical work. That is a legal exposure. Moving one salary forces a review of every other salary at the same level. Moving Kevin $6,000 meant reopening files for the entire team. That is why they say no. The cost of yes is not $6,000. It is every file in the band. The recruiter who told Kevin, "We're already at the top of the band," was telling the truth. She was also not telling him that the band is not the only structure in the room. Here is the second layer most people miss. The company also has a signing bonus budget. It is a separate line, separate approval category, separate decision chain. A signing bonus is one time. It doesn't create a precedent for anyone else at Kevin's level. It doesn't require an equity review. It doesn't ripple through the files of 30 other employees. A hiring manager or recruiter can often approve a signing bonus at their own authorization level, without escalating to compensation, without a compliance review, because it disappears from the active payroll after year 1. A remote day works the same way. Remote flexibility is a scheduling decision, not a compensation decision. It moves through a different approval lane, goes to a different manager, and never touches the pay band architecture at all. An accelerated review date, 6 months instead of the standard 12, costs the company nothing in the current budget cycle. It is a future commitment, contingent on documented performance. The recruiter can offer it as a signal of good faith with zero immediate financial impact. Every HR professional who has run more than 2 hiring cycles knows this distinction. They enter every compensation conversation with a clear mental inventory: what is constrained and what is not. They enter the conversation hoping you focus on the base, not because they are hiding something, because it keeps the negotiation simple and the outcome predictable. When you ask only about base salary, you're using the framework they designed. What does this blind spot cost Kevin? By year 1, Marcus has $6,500 more in his bank account. By year 2, Marcus is already negotiating his second raise, while Kevin is still waiting for his first. Kevin didn't fall behind because he didn't push hard enough. He fell behind because he was negotiating in a room with 5 doors and only knew about one. Now you have the map. Here is how to use it. Before any compensation conversation, before the call where they say they'd like to move forward, build your CompStack inventory. 5 categories. Write them down before you pick up the phone. Signing bonus. This is your cleanest first ask because it is the easiest institutional yes. Anchor it to a specific transition cost before the call. Overlap with a current lease, a forfeited PTO payout from your current employer, a relocation adjacent expense. Give it a number before they ask. I'm looking at a $5,000 signing bonus to cover the transition period. Is a harder no than is a signing bonus possible? One of those questions has an answer built into it: remote flexibility. One additional remote day beyond the standard policy. Frame it as a work pattern, not a perk. I do my best focused work in remote blocks. One additional day would make a concrete difference in what I deliver. This framing routes the decision away from compensation and toward operations, which changes who approves it and how quickly. Accelerated review date. Request a 6-month check-in with a formal compensation conversation on the agenda. Most companies default to 12 months for new hires. Requesting 6 costs them nothing today. It gives you an unlock that can fire in your first half year if you spend that time building a documented performance record. Kevin's 12-month wait was not a company policy he had to accept. It was a default nobody had asked him to challenge. Kevin's review was scheduled for month 12. He accepted that default. Marcus put 6 months on the table before hanging up. Same company, same calendar. One of them reaches his next raise threshold twice as fast. Target bonus upside. If the role carries a variable component, ask whether the target percentage is fixed or whether there is a performance-based tier above it. Bonus structures are often more elastic than base salary because they are tied directly to output. The company can rationalize paying above target when the results justify it. It does not create the same equity exposure that a base adjustment does. Title grade. If the same scope exists at 2 grade levels, ask which grade the offer reflects and whether your experience qualifies for the higher one. A higher grade changes your band floor on the next cycle, your positioning for internal transfers, and the external benchmarks you can use as leverage in future conversations. Now, the sequence. Build the package first. Get 2 yeses, 3 if possible. Then, and only then, return to the base. One more item. Can we revisit the base number? Even a $2,000 adjustment changes the long-term trajectory for me. Small ask, maximum context. The recruiter has already said yes twice. The conversation has already shifted from whether to finalize to how to finalize. The psychological cost of one additional yes is lower than the psychological cost of the first one. Kevin asked in the wrong order. He went for the item with the highest institutional resistance first, hit a wall, and assumed the negotiation was over. He didn't know the table had 5 other items waiting for him. The company wasn't hiding them. They were waiting to see whether he knew to ask. If you've already accepted without this map, the buckets don't disappear when you're already employed. The same logic applies at your next performance review, your next internal transfer, your next raise conversation. The comp stack exists at every stage of the employment relationship, not just at the offer. If you're in a negotiation right now, you know where to start. The negotiation wasn't broken, the map was. You were negotiating the right way, in the wrong room. Every company enters that conversation knowing which doors open and which don't. Most candidates never ask. The ones who walk out with more didn't negotiate harder, they asked about the right room. That video on screen right now breaks down how companies calculate the ceiling on your offer before you walk into any negotiation. Watch it next.